Welcome to the USA, where everyone needs a gimmick. A young boy being sought after by his grandfather, the Moon King, is discovered and has to find 3 magical items in order to protect himself from the evils of the world. The good. Epic. This is the biggest world in the Laika family compared to an apartment complex, a town, or a city. Which, town and city there's a difference, you look it up. Kubo resides in this amazing world that is grand on scale. It has this larger-than-life story that is an ode to the myths and legends of the past. And like those myths and legends, Kubo is the hero on his way through this epic world. What is this world? From the first moment that this film starts, you already want to know what this new world is about. What's inside it? What is going to happen? It's a curious first watch, and when you think you know what it has in store for you, BAM! Another shipment strolls in. Monsters. We've seen witches, zombies, and trolls, but we've not seen actual monsters, and I don't mean just any monsters. These are larger-than-life monsters, monsters that Kratos would be fighting, with more ease, but still amazing to see. Comparing to Moana, a world where the monsters were supposed to be the reason for the discontinued sea voyages, we barely see them. Here in Kubo, though, we get to see and feel the danger that Kubo is in. Perfection of stop motion. Kubo is the latest film to a studio that specializes in stop motion, and it shows. To the previous films, it was noticeable to say the least when the use of CGI came into play, but in Kubo, it seemed to hit that perfect blend, and it can only get better. Color. One of the things I noticed was the use of color. Unlike the box trolls, which used bright colors of all shades, Kubo uses darker and bright colors when needed, making things stand out more. And I don't mean to keep comparing to the previous movies. Even from this image right here, you can see how different everything is based on color. White, black, red, pink, blue, white, gray. There are so many images that compare and contrast beautifully to make a great visual. Ciders doing their job. One of my gripes with Paranorman was the Ciders because they were given dialogue and things to do that seemed to be something like an arc, which led to nowhere. In Kubo, they fixed that by using the Ciders for nothing other than being the elements of the story to make the world feel lively and real. They're given dialogue, but it doesn't allude to an arc or any other distraction to the real plot. Storytelling. The way that Kubo built the story from start to finish fit together like a puzzle piece. There is no aspect of it where the audience is left wondering about a character's motivation or the reason for an event occurring. It all makes sense left, right, and center. Twists. Now, as easy as it is to guess what might happen in the film, it doesn't make any less impact when it actually happens. There's not a huge M. Night Shyamalan twist or anything like that, but what happens in the film is somewhat thought-provoking and leaves you with a smile on your face. The bad. Expositing the plot. Now, there are movies worse than Kubo when it comes to exposition. Exposition is when a character explains an idea, and what I mean when I say they exposite the plot is that they explain the world or what's going to happen to move the plot forward. Now, this isn't necessarily bad if you do it the right way. The biggest offender of this by far is the last Airbender live-action movie. In that movie, they replaced character development with exposition. I won't get into that too much, or at all, but Kubo is guilty of something along those lines. I'd be willing to give it a pass since this is such an abnormal world, but the dialogue they use to exposite seems so forced and stiff that it's very noticeable when it's said. And I do mean only from Kubo. Monkey's dialogue when expositing is on point, but for Kubo it's given to him just as an excuse for him to talk. Makes the world small. Now, in a story that is designed to be epic, the world also has to be on that scale. But in one go, the word convenience mucked up all those plans. Now, this isn't a spoiler since I put it in the premise. Kubo had to find 3 items. 3 items that can be anywhere in the world, but he seems to just stumble upon them on coincidence alone. And that right there makes the world seem incredibly small. No sense of time. There's not much I can say about it, just can't seem to get any sense of time in the movie. I can't tell if it's been a day, 2 days, a week. Not necessarily bad, but still something that bugged me. Kubo's character. Kubo didn't seem to have any sense of character for a lot of it, but you know what? No, I feel like he gained a lot as it went on, even to the climax, so... never mind, sorry, I wasted your time, but, yep. Best character. While watching, I was looking for the absolute best sider, someone that added to the story and was also interesting to watch. At first I thought Kamayo, probably screwed up that name. Kamayo might have been that person, as she was the character to make Kubo care for the village and was also the kooky grandma character, but we've seen this before. Then I was going to choose Hosato, the only reason being George Takei, but I couldn't do that. I have my respect to think about. The sisters. Every time they're on screen, it looks like a scene out of a horror movie. Which, by the way, a horror stop motion? Laika? Get on it. The sisters are interchangeable, but they play a big part in the story as antagonists, as well as being a design element to the story. The stone expressions, i.e. masks, and their power were so interesting to watch on screen. The address. Kubo and the Two Strings was fantastic. I truly mean that. If I had done a G.B.A on it right after my first viewing, I would have given it a lower review, which the movie doesn't deserve. I chalk my feelings on it to a bad movie-going experience on the account of Clayton Wilson. I don't care if I'm saying your name on here, Clayton. You are literally the worst person to go see a movie with. I will never see a movie with you ever again. You thought Suicide Squad was good and you're complaining about Kubo because it's stop motion. Get out of my face with your dismantled brain. Anyway, it's a good thing I decided to give it another go because after being able to soak it all in again, I found that there was not one flaw with the story. It was perfect on that level, not one thing amiss when it comes to the art of storytelling. When it comes to how long someone would be able to hold their breath underwater, that's a different story. My biggest concern was Kubo's lack of personality, and even then the movie gave him a good amount of screen time to let him win us over. I came back thinking maybe that's just his character. Maybe he acts like you'd expect a kid of his age to act and feel. Above any of that though, it was fun seeing a main character with powers. Seeing them learn and become better with said powers, especially if it's a power as cool as Kubo's. We don't get a sense of the Moon King's goal, or why he wants Kubo, or even who the hell he is. What the hell does he do anyway? What does Moon King even mean? Where is his heaven? What does it look like? What does his daughters do? Is that where Moon Man came from? What do these moon people do? Stuff like that. But I also don't want to put all of this mystery as a bad, because I think it's more fun being ambiguous. Making you wonder to yourself and making sure that whatever you think he's doing is far more interesting than what the writers could come up with. I was going to put the ending as a bad, but after rewatching it I realized just how perfect it is. It connected so well at the end. It had an arc and nothing was shoehorned in that didn't add to the story in the end. I wanted to say it was bad because I was so accustomed to these movies ending with some boss battle where the villain is vanquished, which this movie builds up to as an epic story, but in the end pulls the sheets from underneath you to give a more just ending than the constant happy ending trope we're used to. And that's not a spoiler. Despite some minor flaws, Kubo and the Two Strings has major strength, and will amaze audiences one string at a time. Kubo and the Two Strings? More like Kubo and the Two Stripes. After the good, the bad, and the address, Kubo gets 2 stripes. Clear your schedules, gentlemen. Where did these moon people do? I did write that way, wow. Also, holy hell, do I love the end song. You know, the one you were listening to in the background. It's for the credits of the movie. They should have used it somewhere during the actual movie, but probably would have ruined the tone. Screw it, never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about.